Welcome, everybody. It's 8:39. Proof that the rich and famous, including an Academy Award-winning nominated movie, is not exempt from the law. We have a new topic to talk about. Here to tell us more about how employees are suing for not getting what they think is their fair share. We have our legal eagle attorney with us, Ann Williams. She's from the Higgins Firm. We're talking about Black Swan. Saw the movie.
Yes.
Good movie.
Very
Everybody
good movie.
loved it, right? Well, apparently the interns that were working on this movie were not paid, and that kind of goes with the territory. I think all of us at one point have done some kind of internship where you weren't paid for it.
Right.
But now they filed suit, and it looks like they might win.
Right. A federal judge has ruled that they can continue this lawsuit, which is a lawsuit for non-payment of wages, minimum wages, because they were doing unpaid internships. Now, like you said, a lot of us think of unpaid internships as kind of a rite of passage.
Right.
But what has been happening is that kind of usurps those entry-level jobs. Because if a company can get somebody that they don't have to pay, then why would they ever give somebody, an entry-level job and pay them to do the same thing?
Right.
But when interns are actually doing work that's substantive work that is for the benefit of the employer, rather than just as a learning environment, then they do have to pay those employees. And we're seeing more and more of those cases.
I was going to say, this is very interesting because I know, in the television field, I did 3 years worth of unpaid internships because you want to learn what it's like behind the scenes. So where's the line, Ann? How do you decide, where you're just learning for your own benefit or something that you should be paid for?
Now, if your internship is part of an educational process, your school maybe requires, sometimes they call them externships rather than internships, and you're going to get some school credit for this, and you're actually learning on the job, you're learning something that's going along with your schooling, that is probably okay. But if it's something that is really for the benefit, I think what some of these interns on this show were doing were working alongside the same people who were getting paid, or maybe in the past had been paid, and were actually doing substantive work. I believe they were, reading screenplays and doing other kinds of, work for that film. Well, then they ought to be paid for that.
And you also had mentioned that those out there that are earning tips, for example, if you are waiting tables, if you're earning tips, there's a difference because you're not quite at minimum wage, you're getting paid less than that. But if you don't make at least minimum wage, then your employer is supposed to make up the difference.
So the federal minimum wage, which is also the same minimum wage here in Tennessee, is $7.25 an hour. Tipped employers can pay them what's called like a tipped cash wage of $2.13, which is kind of funny because when I was a tipped employee, back in the 80s, we made like $2.05. So it hadn't really changed that much.
It hasn't changed at all.
The reason they can do that is because there's the idea that the tipped employee is actually going to make up and make that $7.25 an hour. Now, if you work somewhere and let's say they're putting you in the back and you're doing dishes, so you're not out there waiting tables. If you're doing that a predominant amount of time and you're not able to make your $7.25 an hour, the employer is supposed to pitch in.
Of course, this is raising a lot of questions. If you still have some, give them a call. It is 353-0930, 353-0930. Also, you can email Ann. It's Ann@higginsfirm.com. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Good to see you,
You
John.
too.